glad you're here tonight. The rain's been falling all evening, and I saved the comfiest blanket for you, the thick, soft one with the faded blue and cream stripes. It smells faintly of cedar from the trunk by the fireplace. You can just drop your bag there by the door. I'll hang your coat on the hook. It'll dry faster by the fire. Listen to that. The rain is steady, tapping against the roof in an unhurried rhythm, almost like it's counting time for us. Every so often, there's a low, distant growl of thunder out over the ocean, so faint it feels more like a memory than a sound. The mist is curling thick around the trees tonight, wrapping them in soft gray layers. Even the porch lamp out front has that halo around it, like it's glowing inside a bubble of fog. I put the kettle on a little while ago, so we're right on time for tea. You sit here, closest to the fire. I like when you can feel the warmth on your legs, while the air behind you stays just cool enough to remind you it's a rainy night. I'll take the chair by the window. From here, I can see just a sliver of the shoreline through the trees. Not the ocean itself, that's a little farther down, but the way the mist brightens in that direction. I can tell the moon must be hiding somewhere behind it all. The kettle hums softly, and it's one of those nights where everything seems quieter than usual, like the whole forest is listening. I think the rain has that effect. It's not silence exactly, but it wraps around other sounds and makes them gentle. I'm pouring your tea first, you take honey right, and just a little cream, there you go. Careful, it's still steaming. We've had a run of nights like this lately. Something about this part of the coast, when it rains, it really settles in. You can smell it even now, through the chimney draft, that mixture of wet earth, pine, and something briny drifting in from the shore. I like the way it seeps into everything, like the cabin itself is breathing along with the weather. Speaking of the cabin, I haven't told you yet, but something odd happened last week. I was walking along the beach just after sunrise. It was low tide, and the air had that salty sweet smell, when I saw something half buried in the sand near where the driftwood piles up. It was an envelope, not a fresh one. The edges were worn and soft, and the paper had that salt-stained look, like it had been in the water a long time. But it wasn't falling apart. Whoever made it must have known how to seal things against the weather. There was no address on it, no writing at all, except for this little symbol drawn in the corner on the back. It's hard to describe, kind of like a spiral, but broken in two places, with a line running through the middle. I've never seen it before, and I've lived here long enough to think I'd recognize most local markings. It's sitting on the mantel right now. Here, let me bring it over, see? That's the symbol. You can feel it slightly raised, almost like it was pressed into the paper instead of written. I thought about opening it right away, but I don't know. It felt strange, like it wasn't mine to open. So I've just kept it here, waiting for the right moment. The fire pops softly, and a few sparks curl upward before fading. You're watching the envelope longer than I expected. Maybe you feel it too. That small hum of curiosity, the kind that doesn't rush you, but keeps nudging at the back of your mind. Here, set your tea down a second. going to grab the drawer from under the counter. The spoons are in there. I always forget where I leave the little stirring ones. Ah, here we go, wait. That's odd. Look at this, underneath the spoons, tucked all the way at the back. There's a key. It's not one of mine. I mean, I've got the cabin keys, the shed key, the one for the little lock on the pantry. But this one's different. The metal is darker, more brass than steel, and it's heavier than it looks. The head of the key is round, with a small engraving I can't quite make out in this light. You take it from me and turn it over in your hands. Feel that. It's warm. Not just been in a drawer in a warm cabin. Warm, it's like it's holding onto heat from something else entirely. The wind outside shifts, and I can hear the ocean more clearly for a moment. A low hush moving in slow, heavy breaths. Then it's gone again, swallowed by the rain. I set the key on the table between us. We both lean back a little, listening to the rain pattering against the windows. The sound is steady enough that after a while, it almost becomes invisible, like it's part of the air. The kettle clicks as it cools. The fire settles into quieter pops. It's in moments like this, when everything is so still, that the smallest sounds seem louder, which is why it catches my attention right away, that faint, drifting sound coming from outside. At first, I think it's the wind shifting again, maybe catching in the eaves. But no, it's different. It's music, soft, slow, and far away. So far away that I almost think I'm imagining it. A few clear notes, like from a piano or maybe an old music box, floating in and out between the rain. There's no rhythm to the rain itself, but the music seems to find its own pace within it, each note hanging in the mist before it fades. You hear it too. I can see it in the way your head tilts, your eyes narrowing just slightly, trying to place it. I glance toward the window, but the night outside is just shadows and fog. I tell myself it could be from the village down the coast. Maybe someone playing late in one of the old houses near the dock. But the wind's not coming from that direction tonight. If anything, the sound is drifting in from deeper in the forest. We sit there for a while, neither of us saying much, just letting the notes reach us whenever they can. It's not constant, a phrase here, a pause, another soft phrase, like whoever's playing is taking their time, unhurried, the way you'd play just for yourself. After a while, I realize my tea gone cold. I pour us both fresh cups, this time adding a small piece of cinnamon stick to each. The scent curls upward, blending with the faint wood smoke. You pull the blanket closer around your shoulders. The music has stopped. I almost wish it hadn't. The cabin feels quieter without it, though the rain is still steady, the fire still warm. I pick up the key again, feeling its weight. You know, I think I've seen that engraving before. Not here in the cabin, but somewhere. Before I can finish the thought, the rain outside changes, not in strength, but in texture. It's hard to describe, but it's as if it's falling through something on the way down, scattering a little before it hits the roof. It makes the sound more delicate, almost brittle, and in that new texture of sound, I can hear it again, the music. This time, it's closer and somehow clearer. The notes are still soft, but they seem to be coming from just beyond the porch now. You glance toward the door, and I feel my own chest tighten slightly, not with fear, but with that electric sense you get when something is about to happen. We sit there listening. A small roll of thunder passes far out to sea. The music fades again, replaced by the even tap of the rain. When I finally stand, it's almost automatic. I cross to the window and pull back the curtain just enough to look out. The mist is thick, the porch lamp glowing in its small halo. Beyond that, shadows shift, but it could just be the trees swaying. You come to stand beside me. For a moment, neither of us says anything. Then, in the space between one heartbeat and the next, the music returns, not from the forest this time, but from directly in front of us, somewhere out beyond the porch steps. And there, just at the edge of the lamplight, something moves. It's not the size of an animal, and it's not quite the shape of a person, either taller than a deer, but too still to be anything alive out there in the rain. The mist folds around it in a way that hides its edges, so I can't be sure if it's even solid. The music stops. When I blink, the shape is gone, but the sound of the rain stays exactly the same. Hey, you're still awake. I wasn't sure if you'd drifted off there by the fire. The rain's changed since earlier. It's lighter now, but steadier. The kind of rain that almost blurs the edges of everything. I've kept the blanket over you. You were so still, I didn't want to wake you. That music, I can still hear it. Faint, almost lost beneath the sound of the rain, but there. Not constant, more like it's weaving in and out 2 or 3 notes, then a pause, then another set, slow enough to feel deliberate. It's strange. Earlier, when it seemed far off in the forest, I thought maybe it was just my imagination, or a trick of the wind carrying some sound from the village. But now it feels closer, like it's not coming through the rain so much as existing inside it, hidden there, stitched into the fabric of the night. The fires burned down to embers. I stirred them just a moment ago, coaxing out that deep orange glow. You know the smell, warmer than wood smoke, almost sweet, as if the cedar logs give back every bit of sunlight they ever stored. The shadows are soft in here, moving gently on the walls. I glance toward the mantel. The envelope is still there, untouched. And the key, I set it on the table, remember. It's exactly where I left it, though for a second I thought I saw it catch the firelight in a way it hadn't before. You shift under the blanket, leaning forward a little, and I can tell you're hearing it too, the music. It's not my imagination then. We share a look, that unspoken confirmation that something is definitely there. Could be someone walking the old path, I say quietly. But even as the words leave my mouth, I know how unlikely that is. The forest at night, in weather like this isn't exactly friendly walking ground. And besides, there's something about the way the sound lingers that feels different. I get up, slow and deliberate, padding across the rug to the door. I keep my steps light, not because I'm afraid, I'm not, but because the night itself feels delicate right now, like raising my voice or moving too fast might break whatever's happening. The porch smells damp, not just from the rain, but from the wood itself, swollen slightly from the moisture. I lean against the frame, looking out into the mist. The lamp throws its soft halo, just like before, but the air beyond it swallows everything else. And then, as if the night was waiting for me to listen, the music becomes just a little clearer. Not loud, never loud, but with more shape to it now, enough that I can almost tell it's being played on strings rather than keys. Maybe a violin or something older, the sound slightly worn, like the instrument itself has known rain. You join me at the door, blanket wrapped around your shoulders. The mist moves in gentle curls, catching the lamplight and then drifting away into the dark. For a few breaths, we just stand there together, listening. I think about stepping down onto the porch, but the boards out there will creak. They always do. And I'm not sure if I want to announce our presence. The music seems shy, in a way, like it's playing only because it believes no one's listening. Instead, I step back and gesture toward the kettle. We could make more tea, I say, though I know we're both too focused on the sound outside. Still, the ritual feels grounding, something normal, something warm to counter the cool, shifting air beyond the door. The water takes its time heating, and while it does, I notice something. The key, the one from the drawer, isn't exactly where I left it. Not much has changed. It's still on the table, but angled differently, as if it's been turned slightly to face the door. I pick it up, warm again, though I haven't touched it since before. The engraving is clearer now in the light. A small spiral, broken in two places, with a thin line running through. It's the same as the envelope symbol. I look over at you, but you're still by the door, eyes fixed on the mist. I don't tell you right away, not because I'm keeping it from you, but because I want to hold the thought a little longer, feel the weight of the connection before we speak it aloud. The kettle begins its soft hum, a gentle sound under the rain. I add a pinch of dried mint to each mug. The scent lifts immediately, fresh, but still warm enough to suit the night. I hand you yours as you step back from the door, your blanket trailing slightly on the floor. We sit again by the fire, the music fading back into the distance. It's strange how it comes and goes, like it has its own tide. You sip your tea, eyes on the flames, and for a while we say nothing. Then you ask it, the question I've been holding back. Do you think it's for us? I want to say no, because that would be the simple answer. But the truth is I don't know. And maybe, though I can't explain why, part of me hopes it is. The rain softens further, to the point where I can hear the quiet drip from the porch eaves. The fire sighs, shifting its weight in the hearth. "Come on," I say suddenly, setting my mug down. I pull on my boots by the door, then glance at you with a smile. "Just to the porch," I promise. "No need to wander off into the trees, not tonight. The boards are cool underfoot, and the air smells like rain-soaked pine and the faintest hint of something floral. The mist clings to the railing in beads. From here, the forest is just shapes within shapes, darker shadows moving behind lighter ones. And then, without warning, the music swells again, just enough to reach us clearly. 3 slow notes, rising, then a pause, then a longer, lower note that seems to hang in the air. It's coming from somewhere down the old path, the one that winds between the cedars before disappearing toward the cliffs. You lean against the post, the blanket wrapped so tightly you look like you're part of it. I rest my hands on the railing, feeling the damp in the wood. We could go down there. We both know it. The path's not far, and the rain is light now. But there's something about the distance, the way the sound drifts toward us, that makes me want to stay exactly where we are. The music stops. The night exhales. And in that silence, I notice the ocean again. A deep, steady rush far below, almost hidden under the softer rain. When we finally step back inside, I close the door slowly, letting the latch catch without a sound. The cabin feels warmer after the damp air outside, and the fire, though low, still holds enough heat to greet us. I set the key on the mantel this time, right next to the envelope. The 2 symbols, identical now, that I've looked closely, catch the light together. We finish our tea in the quiet. The only sounds the rain and the occasional snap from the hearth. My eyes grow heavy, but I'm not ready for sleep yet. There's a stillness in the air, the kind that feels like the night is holding its breath. And then, faintly, so faintly, I think at first it's the fire cracking. The music begins again. Only this time, it's not outside. It's coming from somewhere inside the cabin. Hey, you heard that too, didn't you? I can tell from the way you're looking toward the corner near the bookshelf. The music, it's softer now, but definitely inside. Not loud enough to be unsettling, just strange. Like it's part of the cabin, woven into the creaks of the wood and the faint hiss of the rain on the roof. I set my mug down slowly, not because I'm worried, but because I don't want the clink of porcelain to break whatever this is. The fire is still breathing its low, ember glow warmth, and the shadows it casts seem deeper now, stretching into the corners where the lamplight doesn't quite reach. The sound comes again, 3 high notes, slow and deliberate, then 2 lower ones. It's not random, there's a pattern, though I can't place it. You wrap the blanket closer and follow me as I stand. I move toward the far wall, past the bookshelf stacked with all the mismatched paperbacks I've collected over the years. The air here feels just a little cooler, like there's a draft, though I know there's no window on this side. I kneel, running my hand along the baseboard. The wood is smooth and warm from the fire, except here. One section feels different, the grain slightly raised, almost as if the board is older than the rest. The music fades again, leaving only the rain. We both wait, still as possible. Then, there, the sound returns, and I'm sure of it now. It's coming from behind this wall, not in a way that feels ominous. More like a distant music box playing from another room. One you didn't know existed. "Help me move this," I say softly, gesturing to the small cabinet against the wall. We slide it aside, careful not to scrape the wood. Behind it, the baseboard continues, but there's a narrow seam running vertical, barely visible in the firelight. I press gently against it. Nothing happens. I press again, this time at the top, and feel the faintest give, like there's space behind it. We exchange a glance. Neither of us is rushing. This is one of those moments that feels like it's been waiting for us to notice, and it will still be here in another minute. I reach for the small flashlight on the mantel. Its beam is warm-toned, not harsh, and when I shine it along the seam, I notice a tiny metal latch, flush with the wood. It's too small for fingers, but the key, the brass one we found, would fit perfectly. You fetch it from the mantel. When I take it from your hand, the warmth of the metal is sharper now, like it's been sitting in the sun rather than in a cabin on a rainy night. I insert it into the latch. It turns smoothly, with almost no resistance, and I hear the quiet click of a lock releasing. The section of baseboard swings outward slightly, revealing a narrow compartment, not deep, just enough space to hold a small object. Inside, wrapped in what looks like oilcloth, is a wooden box. It's weathered, the grain darkened with age. The clasp is simple, but tarnished. When I open it, the hinges sigh faintly, like they haven't been moved in years. Inside are two things: a handful of smooth, dark stones, each about the size of a skipping stone. And between them, pressed flat and perfectly preserved, is a single flower. The petals are pale cream, with faint edges of pink, though the colors look softened by time. There's a scent, faint but distinct, that rises when I lift it. The same floral note we smelled outside earlier, mingled with the rain. You lean closer, and I can tell you recognize it too. It's not from around here. I've lived on this stretch of coast long enough to know every bloom the forest offers, and this isn't one of them. Under the flower, tucked in the corner of the box, is another tiny compartment with its own little lock. This one is small enough that the brass key might fit again. Or maybe it's meant for something else entirely. I try the key. It fits, but doesn't turn all the way. Not stuck, just waiting somehow. We both sit back on our heels, the open box between us. The music has stopped completely now, leaving only the soft patter of the rain on the roof. The scent of the pressed flower lingers in the air, a quiet reminder that it's real, not imagined. I close the compartment gently and wrap the box back in the oilcloth. For now, I place it on the mantel beside the envelope. The key I keep in my pocket. The fire pops once, sending a brief spray of sparks upward. I stir it with the poker, coaxing it into a steady burn again. You pour us each another small cup of tea, and we sit there for a while, letting the warmth settle back into our hands. Eventually, I glance toward the window. The mist outside is thicker than before, curling almost like smoke around the trees. The porch lamp glows dimmer, though I know it's just the fog pressing in. And then, so faint I almost miss it, there's a single, clear chime from somewhere out beyond the porch. Not a note from the earlier music, but a different sound entirely. Higher, brighter, with a sharper edge. You hear it too. We both turn toward the door at the same time. The rain hasn't stopped, but it's lighter now, more like a fine spray. The chime comes again, once, then silence. It doesn't repeat. We stand there for another long moment, listening. But the forest holds its quiet. The only sound is the steady whisper of the ocean far below the cliffs. Finally, we settle back down, though neither of us really relaxes. My mind keeps turning over the pieces we've gathered tonight: the envelope, the key, the hidden box, the pressed flower, and now the chime. When I close my eyes, I can still hear the faint threads of that music from earlier, as if it settled somewhere in the walls. The rain begins to pick up again, gentle but steady, and you lean back with the blanket pulled to your chin. I think we're both hopping for sleep, though we know the night isn't finished with us yet. And then, just as I'm about to drift, I hear it again. Not the music, not the chime, but something softer. A slow, deliberate knock on the cabin door. Hey, you're still up. I wasn't sure if you'd fallen asleep after that last cup of tea. I almost did myself until the knock came. It wasn't loud, more like the sound of knuckles brushing wood than a sharp rap. But in the stillness of the cabin, it carried. The rain was steady then, tapping on the roof and the porch in that soft, even rhythm. So the knock felt separate, like it belonged to something outside the night itself. We both looked at each other before either of us moved. Not fear exactly, just that quiet, mutual question. Did you hear it too? I stood first, the blanket sliding from my shoulders. The floorboards under my feet felt cooler near the door, where the draft sometimes sneaks through in weather like this. You rose too, moving slower, still wrapped in the striped blanket like it was a shield. The latch is old, the kind that clicks softly rather than clanks. I turned it carefully, easing the door open just enough for the lamplight to spill across the porch. No one was there. The mist was thicker than I'd seen it all night, curling close around the porch rail, as if it were leaning in to listen. The rain had shifted into a fine spray, drifting more than falling, and the air smelled faintly of the ocean, salt, and something else I couldn't name. And there, centered neatly on the welcome mat, was the seashell, It wasn't large, no bigger than the palm of my hand, but it was perfect. Smooth and pale, with a faint blush of pink spiraling inward. A few beads of water clung to its surface, catching the porch light. I bent to pick it up, and it was warm. Not from the air, the night was too cool for that, but warm like it had been held just moments before. You stepped beside me, peering into the mist, but there was no movement beyond the small circle of light. No footprints on the wet boards, just the steady hiss of the rain against the forest. We brought the shell inside. I set it gently on the table beside the key and the envelope. The three of them together looked oddly deliberate, as if they'd been arranged for us, though of course, I'd just put them there myself. The fire had burned lower again, the coals glowing deep red. I added another log, the resin crackling faintly as the wood caught. The scent of cedar rose again, mingling with the faint briny note that seemed to be following the shell. You picked it up first. I could tell from your expression that you noticed the warmth too. Without a word, you raised it to your ear the way people do, expecting to hear the ocean, but your brow furrowed almost immediately. You handed it to me. I pressed it to my ear. At first, I thought it was nothing more than the usual soft rush, that distant, endless sound of water. But then I realized it wasn't random at all. It was a tone. One steady, low note, humming faintly but distinctly. It didn't waver, didn't change. Just held, quiet and constant, like the first note of a song waiting for the rest to begin. I lowered the shell and looked at you. The firelight caught in your eyes, and I could see you were thinking the same thing I was. It matched something. The music from outside. Not exactly the same. The music had been softer, more varied. But this note, it was part of it. Like a single thread from a larger pattern. We set the shell down again, side by side with the key. The envelope was still there, its spiral symbol faint in the glow. For a moment, the three items almost seemed to align the curve of the shell, the curve of the engraving, the curve of the mark on the paper. The rain picked up slightly, a little more insistent on the roof, but still far from a storm. The mist outside pressed against the windows, blurring the shapes of the trees. You suggested we try placing the shell near the wooden box with the stones and flower. I fetched it from the mantel. When I set the shell inside, resting it lightly on the smooth stones, the humming changed, just barely, but enough that we both noticed. It was still the same tone, but there was a faint pulse to it now, like a heartbeat slow enough to match the rhythm of the rain. I don't know how long we sat there, just listening. The sound was quiet enough that it might have been our own breathing playing tricks on us, yet steady enough to make me believe it was real. Eventually, you leaned back in the armchair, the blanket pulled close, and I sat on the rug near the hearth. The heat from the fire wrapped around us, and for a time, everything felt suspended, no hurry, no questions demanding answers, just the gentle mystery of the shell's hum, and the soft rain outside. At some point, I closed my eyes, not to sleep, but to listen better. The rain was a constant veil, but beneath it, I thought I could hear something else, not music exactly, but a faint movement. When I opened my eyes, you were watching me. "Did you hear that?" I asked. You nodded slowly, like something shifting. We both turned toward the mantel. The shell was still in the box, the hum steady. The key rested beside it, its brass catching the firelight. And then, right before our eyes, the shell rolled. It didn't fall, didn't tip, just rolled smoothly across the stones, until it came to rest against the tiny locked compartment inside the box. Neither of us spoke. I reached for the key in my pocket, the one that had opened the hidden latch in the baseboard. I tried it again on the small lock. This time it turned. The compartment clicked open with a sound so soft it might have been the fire settling. Inside was a scrap of paper, folded small and tucked deep. I eased it out and unfolded it carefully. The paper was thick, waterproofed somehow, and the ink was faint but legible. It was a map, not a full one, just a portion, drawn in careful lines, showing the coastline near here. But the details were odd. Certain trees marked with tiny symbols, small curves in the shore exaggerated, and right in the center, the same spiral emblem we'd seen on the envelope and the key. I traced it with my finger. The lines were too precise to be casual, but too old to be recent. And as I studied it, I thought I saw something impossible, the faintest shift, as if the ink itself moved when I wasn't looking directly at it. We laid it flat on the table. The shell's hum had stopped now, as if it had done its part. The fire burned low again, and I didn't bother adding more wood. The rain outside had slowed to a fine mist, the kind that seems to float instead of fall. You leaned in close to the map, your finger resting just beside the spiral. "What do you think it means?" I shook my head slowly. "I think it's not finished." The rain whispered against the windows. Somewhere far off, maybe out over the water, I thought I heard a single, clear chime, just like before. Only this time, it was followed by a second, and a third. Hey, I was hoping you were still awake. I didn't want you to miss this part of the night. It's gotten quieter somehow. Even the rain taken on that softer, faraway sound, like its content just to be background. The kind of hush that makes you want to speak in low tones, or not at all. The map is still on the table between us, but my eyes keep drifting toward the window. The chimes, they didn't sound like anything carried on the wind. They were too clear, too placed. Each one felt like it came from exactly the same spot, far off beyond the trees and the mist, maybe even over the water itself. You're watching me, and I know you're thinking the same thing. That spiral on the map seems to line up with where those chimes came from. Not that we can see it from here. The night is too thick, the mist curling close around the cabin. But it's as if the sound drew an invisible line straight to that mark. my chair, the firelight painting the ceiling in slow waves of gold. The shell sits in its box, still and silent now, as though it's resting after the work it's done tonight. The key lies beside it, warm from the fire's heat. "Do you think we should go?" you ask quietly. I smile a little at that. Not because it's a bad idea, but because the thought feels heavy in the air. The cabin is so warm right now, so safe, that the idea of stepping out into the cool, wet night feels almost like leaving a dream. But I'm not sure if I want to resist it. Instead of answering right away, I pour us each another cup of tea from the pot that's been keeping warm by the hearth. The steam curls between us, carrying the scent of chamomile and a touch of honey. I hand you your cup, and for a moment we just sit there, sipping, letting the heat sink into our hands. Finally, I set mine down and nod toward the map. "If we do go," I say, "it'll have to be before the rain changes. Right now it's gentle, but if the wind turns off the ocean, it could be a real storm before morning." You glance toward the window. I can tell you're weighing the same things I am: the pull of the mystery, the comfort of staying here. Outside, the mist shifts, revealing the faintest suggestion of movement in the trees before closing in again. I stand, draping my blanket over the back of the chair. "Come on," I say softly. "If we don't go now, we'll just sit here wondering all night." We take the shell, the key, and the map, tucking them carefully into my old canvas satchel. I wrap my scarf around my neck, the wool a little scratchy but familiar, and you pull your hood up against the drizzle. The moment I open the door, the scent of the forest hits me: rain-soaked cedar, damp earth, and that faint, unmistakable salt of the ocean carried on the breeze. The porch creaks under our weight, the boards slick with rain. The chimes are silent now, but their memory is sharp enough to guide us. The path off the porch disappears quickly into the mist, the beam of my lantern slicing only a short way ahead. The droplets cling to every branch, catching the light in tiny flashes. We walk slowly, not because we're hesitant, but because the ground is soft and uneven. Each step makes a quiet sound in the wet leaves, but otherwise, the forest is still. Even the usual nighttime calls, the distant owl, the rustle of small animals seem to be holding their breath. The map is in my pocket, and I check it now and then, though I'm starting to think it's not so much telling us where to go as confirming what we already feel. The spiral mark seems to draw the path in our minds. At one point, we pass a tree that looks almost exactly like one of the symbols on the map. A twisted cedar with roots that break the ground in strange, knotted loops. We pause there for a moment, listening, and there it is. One single chime, clear as glass. It's closer now, and this time, it's followed by the faintest vibration in the air, like the echo of a tuning fork. I look at you, and you're already turning toward the sound. We keep walking. The mist parts slightly as we reach a narrow clearing. The the ground here carpeted with thick moss that swallows the sound of our steps. In the center stands a weathered wooden post, maybe as tall as my chest, with a small brass bell hanging from a simple hook. The bell moves slightly, though there's no breeze here. Droplets cling to its rim, trembling with each motion. Beneath it, carved into the wood of the post, is the spiral symbol. I reach out, touching the post with my fingertips. The wood is damp but solid, and the carving feels deep, old enough that moss has begun to grow in its grooves. You lean closer to look at the bell. Do you think we should? Before you finish, the bell rings. Not loudly, just a soft, clear tone, like the ones we heard from the cabin. But this time, we're close enough to hear the harmonics, the way the note stretches and folds into itself before fatting. And then, without warning, the shell in my bag hums again. It's the same tone, matching the bell perfectly, as if one is answering the other. The sound is warm against my side, pulsing faintly in time with my heartbeat. We stand there for a long moment, not touching the bell, just listening. The rain is softer here, caught by the canopy above, and the mist swirls lazily around our legs. When the hum fades, I pull the shell from the bag. It feels warmer than before, and for just a second, I think I see the faintest shimmer in its spiral, a glint of light that moves like liquid. You tilt your head toward the bell. What if there's more than one? It's a good question, and it lingers in my mind as we turn to head back toward the cabin. The forest feels different now, not threatening, but attentive, like it's aware of us in a way it wasn't before. We take a slightly different path back, and that's when we see it. Another post, smaller this time, almost hidden among the ferns. But instead of a bell, there's a small, rusted lantern hanging from it, unlit. The spiral is carved here too, faint under the moss. I reach for the lantern, and my fingers brush something cold and metallic inside, a key, not like the brass one from before. This one is silver, narrow, and old. The teeth are worn in a way that makes them look hand-filed, uneven but deliberate. We don't speak much as we continue back to the cabin, each of us lost in thought. By the time the porch comes into view, the rain has eased into the gentlest of drizzles, barely more than a mist. Inside, the fire's embers glow softly, the room smelling faintly of the tea we left behind. I set the silver key on the table beside the brass one, the shell, and the map. The four objects look strange together, like pieces of a puzzle that hasn't revealed its picture yet. You sink into the armchair, pulling the blanket back around your shoulders. I pour us fresh tea and sit across from you. Outside, the mist curls against the windows. I can hear the faintest suggestion of the ocean now, even through the walls, a slow, steady rhythm beneath the rain. The silver key catches the firelight. It looks almost alive in its reflection, as if the metal is shifting, though when I stare directly at it, it's still. And then, from somewhere out beyond the forest, a new sound joins the night. Not a chime this time, not music. A low, resonant note, deep enough to feel in my chest, rolling in like a tide. Hey, there you are. I was wondering if you drifted off for a bit. It's all right if you had. The fire's warm enough to lull anyone to sleep. But I'm glad you're awake now. That sound, it's not something I want to describe to you later. You have to hear it while the night still holds it. The low note hasn't returned yet. The rain is soft again, a whisper on the roof. But I swear I can feel that tone lingering in the air, like the echo of a bell inside a church tower after the sounds faded. It's in the floorboards, in the walls, maybe, even in us. I glance at the window, the glass fogged from the heat inside. The mist outside looks thicker now, pressed right up against the cabin like it's listening. The fire crackles softly, breaking the stillness in here, but it can't quite mask the feeling that we're waiting for something. The silver key rests beside the brass one, and between them sits the shell. I can't help but think of them as companions, now pieces of something larger, though I don't yet know what shape they're making. You lean forward, your gaze fixed on the keys, and I can tell you're thinking the same thing. The note comes again. It's so deep that at first it doesn't register as sound, more like a shift in the air pressure, a subtle tremor in the ground beneath us. Then, slowly, it blooms into something almost melodic, a tone that swells and fades with a rhythm like waves against a cliff. You stand, moving to the window. I follow, wiping a small patch of condensation from the glass with my sleeve. But the mist is too thick. We can't see beyond the nearest trees. Could it be the ocean? You ask quietly. Maybe, I answer, though I'm not convinced. I've lived here long enough to know the ocean's voice, and this feels different, like something calling through it, using its rhythm as a carrier. The note fades again, leaving a silence that's heavier than before. I grab the lantern and check the oil, still plenty from earlier. My scarf is still damp from our walk, but I wrap it around my neck anyway, the wool smelling faintly of the cedar trees we passed. We step out onto the porch. The night air is cool and wet, the rain just enough to bead on our jackets without soaking through. The forest is darker now, the mist catching the lantern light in shifting veils that make it impossible to see more than a few steps ahead. The note comes a third time, and this one is closer. Not much, just enough that the vibrations feel clearer, sharper, almost like they're guiding us. Without speaking, we leave the porch. The soft thud of our boots on wet earth swallowed quickly by the moss. We pass the twisted cedar again, its roots glistening in the lamplight. Somewhere beyond it, the sound seems to draw us off the faint path, into a part of the forest I don't think I've walked in years. The ground dips slightly, and the scent of the ocean grows stronger, mingling with the rain-wet earth. As we move, I notice the trees are different here, taller, older, their trunks straight and smooth like columns. The mist feels cooler, and the the sound of the rain above is more distant, as though the canopy is catching most of it. The note comes again, and this time there's something beneath it, a faint metallic undertone, like the distant ringing of a massive bell. I stop walking, holding up a hand for you to listen. It's subtle, so subtle I almost think I imagined it. But then it comes again, clearer. The spiral on the map flickers in my mind, and I realize we're headed toward its center. We step over a fallen log, the wood soft with moss, and the lantern light catches something ahead, a glint of metal. As we draw closer, it resolves into the shape of an archway. It's not large, just tall enough for us to pass under without ducking. But it's unlike anything else in the forest. The posts are thick, carved with faint spirals worn smooth by years of weather, and the arch itself is made of some dark metal, cold and beaded with rain. Hanging from the center is another bell. This one is bigger than the first, maybe the size of a small bucket, and its surface is covered in tiny etchings that catch the lantern light. The carvings aren't letters, but they have the rhythm of language, curling and looping like currents of water. Beneath the bell, half hidden by the moss at its base, is a small metal box. It's the size of a thick book, with a hinged lid and a narrow keyhole in the front. I crouch, brushing away the moss, and you kneel beside me. The box is cool and heavier than I expect when I lift it. The metal is dark, almost black, and the keyhole, it's just the right size for the silver key. I look at you, and you nod. The key slides in smoothly, though it resists slightly before turning with a soft click. The lid opens with a faint sigh, as if it's been sealed for a long time. Inside, wrapped in a piece of oilcloth, is a folded scrap of paper. It's stiff from age, the edges frayed, and when I unfold it, the lantern light reveals a sketch, a rough, hand-drawn map, but not of the forest. This one shows the coastline, with a cluster of tiny islands offshore. One of them is marked with the same spiral we've seen everywhere. There's something else too. At the bottom, in faint pencil, are the words, "When the bells align, the door will open." I read it aloud, and the words hang in the damp air between us. The deep note comes again, so close now that the metal arch vibrates under my hand. The bell hanging from it trembles, but doesn't ring, as if it's waiting for something. We close the box, tucking the map carefully into my bag, and turn back toward the cabin. The forest feels thicker on the return, the mist clinging to us like cobwebs, and the sound doesn't follow this time. When we reach the porch, I set the lantern down and shake the rain from my scarf. Inside, the fire has burned low, so I add another log, the flames licking up around it with a soft rush. The cabin feels different now, not less safe, but more like it's part of something bigger than I'd imagined. You sit by the table, unfolding the new map beside the old one. The spirals on both seem to call to each other, though they're drawn on different scales, one in the forest, one on the sea. I take the shell from its box and hold it to my ear. There's no sound, just the faint rush of the ocean you always hear in a shell. But after a moment, I realize it's matching the rhythm of the deep note we heard outside. The two maps lie side by side, and between them, the shell and the keys gleam in the firelight. I pour us fresh tea, though the pot's nearly empty now. The chamomile is cool, but still comforting, its gentle scent mingling with the smoke from the fire. Outside, the rain starts to fall harder, a steady patter on the roof that deepens into a soft roar. The mist presses against the glass, hiding the forest entirely, and then, somewhere in that white shroud beyond the windows, a light appears. It's not bright, just a small, steady glow, warm and golden, like a lantern swinging gently in the dark. It moves slowly between the trees, weaving through the mist as if searching for something. We both freeze, watching it. The glow drifts closer, though it's still far enough away that we can't see what's holding it. The rain hisses against the roof. The fire crackles softly, and the golden light in the forest sways, pauses, and then begins to come straight toward the cabin. Hey, you're still awake. I thought maybe the sound had sent you drifting again. But no, your eyes are on the door, same as mine. I don't blame you. The glow outside is close enough now that it's casting a soft, amber shimmer over the porch railing. The rain runs in thin rivulets down the window glass, bending the light into trembling shapes. The fire pops softly behind us, and the air between the cabin and the forest feels expectant. Like the moment just before you open a letter you've been holding for hours. I move to the door slowly, my hand resting on the latch, but not yet lifting it. The deep note hums in my bones, steady and sure, like the pulse of the earth. Whoever's out there is standing still now. I can tell by the way the light isn't swaying anymore. We exchange a glance. You nod, almost imperceptibly, and I open the door just enough to let the rain-cooled air slip in. A figure stands at the bottom of the steps. They're wrapped in a long coat, the hood pulled low so I can't see their face. In one hand, they hold the lantern, its golden glow spilling over the wet boards and catching the fine mist in the air. In the other, they carry something, a bundle, wrapped tightly in oilskin. They don't speak. For a moment, we just watch each other, the rain hissing all around us. Then they take one slow step forward, the porch creaking as their boot touches it. Another step, and another, until they're standing right before us. Without a word, they extend the oilskin bundle toward me. I hesitate, glancing at you, but take it. The fabric is damp and smells faintly of salt, the ocean kind, sharp and clean. The moment I have it in my hands, the figure turns and walks back down the steps. They don't look back, and within seconds, the mist swallows their light entirely. The deep note fades with them, leaving only the rain and the crackle of the fire inside. We close the door. The warmth of the cabin wraps around us again, and I set the bundle gently on the table. The oilskin is fastened with a thin cord, tied in a knot that's easy enough to undo. Inside is a small wooden box. It's not as heavy as the metal one we found under the bell, but it's beautifully made dark wood, polished smooth, with a spiral inlaid on the lid in lighter wood. The spiral is the same shape and size as the others we've seen, though the craftsmanship here is far finer. When I lift the lid, a faint scent of cedar drifts out, and inside, on a bed of soft cloth, lies a small compass, but it's unlike any compass I've seen. The base is brass, warm in my hand, but the needle is made of some silvery metal that catches the firelight in soft flashes. The face is engraved not with letters for directions, but with tiny, swirling patterns, and in the center of the glass, etched faintly, is another spiral. The needle doesn't point north. It points somewhere else. You lean closer, your brow furrowed. The needle shifts slightly in my hand, as though adjusting, and I realize it's pointing toward the ocean. Beneath the compass in the box is a scrap of parchment, folded small. I unfold it carefully, revealing a single line of writing in neat, flowing script. Follow where the tide pulls. The words settle into me like a stone dropped into still water, sending quiet ripples outward. We set the compass beside the shell and the keys on the table. Together, they look like pieces of a puzzle, not yet fitting, but somehow meant for each other. I pour more tea, the steam curling between us, and we sit for a while, listening to the rain. After a time, you take the compass and tilt it gently. The needle wavers, then settles again toward the same unseen point. "What do you think it means?" you ask softly. I shake my head. Not sure yet, but I think it's meant to lead us somewhere. Maybe that island on the map. The fire burns low again, so I add another log. The shadows shift across the walls, and the rain outside thickens, drumming steadily on the roof. The mist at the windows is pale and still, almost luminous in the firelight. A thought comes to me suddenly, unbidden. What if the bells aren't just sounds? What if they're signals? The first bell, small and hidden in the forest. The second, under the metal arch. Both silent until the deep note comes. And now this compass, another way to point us toward something. I mention it to you, and you nod slowly, your eyes on the maps. Maybe the bells and the spiral mark places, and maybe when they're all found, the door will open, I finish for you. The words from the map slipping into the quiet. We sit in the golden warmth, the sound of the rain like a lullaby. The bundle's oilskin lies folded on the table, the scent of salt still clinging to it. I can't help but wonder who the figure was, how they found us, why they left without speaking. But for now, the fire is warm, the blankets are soft, and the forest outside can wait. Hours pass in the kind of silence that's easy to sink into. The teapot is empty, the logs stacked lower in the hearth, and the rain's rhythm has slowed to a gentler patter. Then a sound, not the deep note this time, but something higher, lighter, threading through the quiet. It's music, faint, so faint that I almost think it's the wind at first. But as I listen, it becomes clear. A simple, repeating melody, played on what sounds like a flute. The notes drift in through the mist, slow and deliberate, as though whoever's playing knows exactly how far they'll carry. You rise, moving to the window, but there's nothing to see. The forest is still hidden, the mist pressed close. The melody continues, looping in a way that makes it feel like it's meant to be followed. Without a word, I take the compass from the table. The needle quivers, then points, not toward the ocean this time, but slightly inland, deeper into the forest. We pull on our coats again, and I grab the lantern. The air outside is cooler now, the rain little more than a fine mist. The ground is soft beneath our boots, and the night smells of wet leaves and distant salt. The flute's melody threads through the trees, always just ahead, and the compass needle holds steady in its new direction. We pass the twisted cedar, then the path beyond the bell arch, and soon the forest feels different again. Quieter, older. A small clearing opens before us, the mist hanging low over it. In the center stands a stone pillar, worn smooth, its top just above my shoulder. A spiral is carved deep into its surface, the grooves still holding traces of rainwater, and sitting atop the pillar is a third bell. This one is smaller than the others, made of dark bronze with green patina at the edges. A thin cord runs through its loop, trailing off into the mist, and somewhere at the other end, I realize, is the flute. The melody stops. The silence that follows is so complete, I can hear the faint drip of water from the trees. The cord attached to the bell shifts slightly, as though tugged, and the bell sways. But it doesn't ring. I step closer, reaching out, and then I feel it. A vibration in the stone, deep and slow, as if the earth itself is humming. The sound rises, blending with the memory of the deep note, until I can't tell where one ends and the other begins. The bell trembles harder now, and the spiral carved into the pillar seems almost to ripple in the lantern light. Then, faint but clear, a voice from somewhere in the mist. Two have sounded, one more remains. The words seem to come from all around us, as if the forest itself is speaking. I turn toward you, but your eyes are fixed on the pillar. In the firelight glow of the lantern, the spiral's grooves glisten, and for just a moment, I think I see them turning. Hey, I can feel your hand tighten a little on the lantern handle. You see it too, don't you? The grooves of the spiral shifting, not in a way that's flashy or quick, but like the slow turn of a tide, steady, unstoppable. The rain, soft as it is now, seems to hush even more as we watch. The final curl of the spiral stops, its tip pointing toward a place in the trees where the mist is thicker, almost glowing faintly. There's no path, no sign of anyone having walked there before. compass in my pocket grows warm, and when I pull it out, the needle quivers, then snaps to that same direction. We stand for a long moment in the quiet clearing. The bronze bell above us sways gently, the cord leading into the mist. My mind tries to stitch together the voice we heard, the 3 bells, the spirals, the phrase from the map. The door will open. I glance at you and you nod. We move. The ground underfoot is soft, layered with pine needles, the kind that muffle every step. The glow in the mist doesn't fade. If anything, it deepens, taking on a pale golden hue that feels warm somehow, despite the chill in the air. We walk for several minutes without speaking. Every so often I hear the faintest sound behind us, not footsteps exactly, but maybe the brush of something moving through the wet branches. I don't turn around. I have the distinct sense that whatever's following is not a threat, but rather a watcher. The forest begins to change. The trees here are older, their trunks thicker and roots twisted deep into the earth. The air smells less of rain and more of salt now, though I know the shoreline is far to our right. The compass needle never wavers. Then, just ahead, the faint glow resolves into something more distinct, a small structure tucked between 2 leaning cedars. It's made of weathered wood, its roof sloping low, almost lost in the surrounding foliage. It's not a cabin, it's more like a shed. We approach slowly. The door is closed, but a narrow window near the top leaks the golden glow we saw from the spiral. The air here is very still, and the rain doesn't seem to touch this place. Even the sound of it is faint. I reach for the door handle. It's old, iron, and cool to the touch. The latch gives easily, and the door opens with only the quietest sigh. Inside, the glow comes from an oil lamp set on a small table. The rest of the space is sparse shelves along the walls, a stool, a folded wool blanket in the corner. But what draws my eye first is what's directly opposite the door, a spiral. This one is carved into a tall wooden panel, taller than me and nearly the width of the wall. But unlike the others we've seen, it's not just a carving. It's inlaid with something metallic, the lines glinting faintly in the lamplight. As we step closer, I notice something else. The spiral is segmented. Small sections of it, exactly 3, are darker than the rest, as though they've been filled in. The rest remain pale. 3 segments, 3 bells. I run my fingertips lightly over the metal inlay. It's warm. Not just from the lamp, warmer than it should be, like it's been absorbing some deep, steady heat for years. The air shifts behind us. I turn, and the hooded figure from the porch is standing just inside the door. Their lantern is unlit now, their face still hidden. They close the door softly and take a step forward. "You found them," they say, their voice low, but carrying easily in the still air. The words aren't a question. I nod slowly. The bells and the spirals. They move closer to the carved panel, their gloved hand tracing one of the darkened segments. When all are sounded, the way will open, but not until the tide is right. You shift beside me. What way? The figure pauses, and I hear the rain again, faint, outside, a reminder that time still moves. There is a door beneath the sea, they say, older than the forest, older than the stones. The bells call it. I glance at the compass in my hand. The needle now points not toward the spiral, but back toward the ocean. When the last bell rings, they continue. The tide will fall farther than it has in 100 years. You will see the path then, but be ready. The way does not stay open for long. They step back toward the door. The last bell waits where the forest meets the waves. Before I can speak again, they're gone, slipping into the mist with the quiet certainty of someone who belongs to it. The shed feels colder without them. We stand in the glow of the lamp for a few more minutes, memorizing the lines of the spiral. Then we step back into the damp night. The rain greets us again, soft and steady, the scent of salt even stronger now. The path back to the cabin feels longer than it should, as though the forest is stretching itself out, making sure we think about what we've been told. My mind turns the words over beneath the sea. The way will open, the tide will fall. When we finally reach the porch, the fire inside is down to embers. I stoke it, feeding it until the flames rise again, and we set the compass, the shell, and the small wooden box on the table. Together, they feel like the beginnings of a map, one not drawn on paper, but built from objects. You pour tea while I spread out the original map we found. My fingers trace the coastline, stopping at a place where the forest meets a long stretch of rocky beach. It's far from here, at least a day's walk, and yet I can almost hear the waves there. The night grows deeper. Thunder rumbles far off over the water, soft and low. The rain on the roof becomes gentler still, until it's little more than a whisper. And then, through that whisper, a new sound threads its way in. It's not the flute this time. It's not the bells. It's the sound of waves. Not the distant, muted kind we sometimes hear when the wind is just right, but close, close enough that I can hear the foam hissing against rocks. The deep pulse of the tide. You hear it too. We both move to the door, open it, and stand there in the mist. The forest is still there, dark and wet and familiar. But underneath it all is the ocean, breathing in and out. I step off the porch. The ground is damp beneath my boots, but not muddy, like it hasn't been raining here at all. The sound of the waves grows clearer with every step, and then ahead of us, the mist thins just enough to show something impossible. A line of water, not a stream or a river, but a wide, slow-moving channel cutting straight through the forest. Moonlight glints on its surface, even though the clouds haven't parted. The water flows toward us, then curves away to the left, disappearing into the trees. Somewhere down that channel, I know, is the shore. And somewhere along that shore is the last bell. But before we can move toward it, the channel shimmers and fades. The mist closes in again, and the sound of the waves retreats like a breath being drawn back in. The forest is silent. We stand there for a long time, the damp air clinging to our coats, the memory of that silvered water hanging in our minds. Finally, we go back inside, close the door, and sit again by the fire. The rain has stopped entirely now. The cabin feels different, not less safe, but as though it's waiting with us. I watch the flames dance and think of the spiral with its 3 darkened segments, the figures warning about the tide, and the glimpse of the channel. Something tells me that when the last bell rings, the channel will be real. And this time, it won't vanish. Hey, you're awake too, aren't you? I thought so. I saw your eyes open when the compass spun. It's still there on the table, the needle steady now, pointing toward the same place as before, the shore. The fires burned low again, just a soft bed of embers, but it's enough to throw a warm glow across the room. Outside, the rain hasn't returned, but the mist has thickened, pressing against the windows in soft white swirls. The night feels hushed, like it's holding its breath. I wrap my blanket tighter and gesture for you to come closer to the table. We lean over the compass together, and I trace its line in the air, imagining where it would take us if we walked straight from the cabin. It wouldn't be easy. There's no clear path through the forest that way. But the figures' words echo in my mind, where the forest meets the waves. I pour us both a little more tea, though it's gone lukewarm. It's not about the heat, it's the comfort of holding the cup. The steam faint, but still carrying the scent of chamomile. When we step out onto the porch, the air is cool enough that it brushes the sleep from my face. The forest looks different in this pre-dawn hour. Not quite night, not yet morning. The mist makes the trees look taller, their trunks fading into pale gray at the top. We follow the compass. The ground slopes gently downward, and our steps are quiet against the soft earth. The birds haven't started yet, but somewhere in the distance, I hear the slow creak of a branch swaying in the damp air. After a while, the forest begins to change again. The scent of salt comes first, faint at first, and then sharp enough that I can taste it on my lips. Then, the trees thin, and I can see shapes through the mist, tall, weathered stones, standing upright in irregular rows. We stop for a moment. They're not natural. The angles are too precise. The way they lean too intentional. Some are carved with faint markings, but the mist clings to them so closely I can't make out the patterns. We pass between 2 of them, and for a moment I feel something shift, not in the air exactly, but in my sense of where we are. The forest still surrounds us, but it feels older here, like we've stepped through a doorway without knowing it. The compass needle trembles, but doesn't waver. The ground becomes sandy, and our boots leave shallow prints. The mist glows faintly ahead, not gold this time, but silver, as if the moon is hiding behind the clouds, just enough to spill its light down in one narrow path. Then we hear it. Waves, not faint, not imagined, but real and close. The deep thrum of water meeting stone, the hiss and retreat of foam. We move faster now, our breath forming pale clouds in the cool air. The trees give way suddenly, and we step out onto a narrow bluff overlooking the ocean. Below us, dark water stretches to the horizon, the surface restless even without wind. The tide is low, though not as low as the figure described. Jagged rocks jut from the shallows, slick with mist, and there at the far end of the beach, we see it, the last bell. It's mounted on a wooden frame half buried in the sand, its surface greened with age, but still whole. Even from here, I can see the carvings on it, a spiral, of course, but this one surrounded by a ring of small, wave-like patterns. We make our way down the narrow path to the beach, the damp sand cool beneath our steps. The bell is larger than the others, its mouth wide enough that I could stand inside it if it were on its side. The wooden frame sways slightly in the sea breeze, but the bell doesn't ring on its own. Up close, the spiral on its surface is more intricate, each curve inlaid with a thin line of some pale metal. My hand itches to touch it, but I hesitate. The figure's warning about the tide still hangs in my mind. You tilt your head, listening. I hear it too, a faint hum, not from the waves, not from the wind, but from the bell itself. It's waiting. Beside the frame is a thick rope, frayed, but strong, hanging from a wooden beam. I wrap my fingers around it, feeling the damp fibers bite gently into my palm. The hum grows louder, like the sound of the ocean in a shell. I look at you. You nod once slowly. I pull. The bell's sound is deeper than I expected, not loud, but resonant, rolling out across the beach like a wave that never breaks. I feel it in my ribs, in the sand beneath my boots, in the air itself. Far out to sea, something shifts. The horizon darkens, not with clouds, but with the rise of something beneath the water. It's subtle at first, a long, slow swelling that pulls the tide back in a way I've never seen. Rocks that were half submerged now stand bare, streaked with green and black. The hum from the bell fades, and the rope goes slack in my hand. You point toward the rocks. There's a path forming, not a dry one, but a stretch of seabed just shallow enough to walk if the water keeps falling. It leads toward a jagged shape that breaks the surface farther out. We both step closer to the water's edge, but before we can move farther, the mist thickens again, rolling in from both sides of the beach. Through it, a figure appears, not the hooded one from before, but taller, their coat a deep blue, the color of midnight just before dawn. They walk toward us without hurry, boots leaving no prints in the wet sand. When they stop a few feet away, they look from the bell to us, then back to the sea. You've called it, they say, their voice soft but certain. The path will not stay for long. their gaze fixes on me. When you step onto it, do not stop until you reach the door. And whatever you hear behind you, do not turn around. The waves hiss against the sand. The air is cold enough now that my breath clouds in front of me. I glance at the compass. The needle spins once, then locks, pointing directly out to sea, along the path. The figure steps back into the mist, and within seconds, they're gone. We stand there, the tide still falling, the path becoming clearer with each passing moment. The sky above is pale now, dawn is close. The sound of the waves has taken on a rhythm that almost matches the bell's low tone. I know we should go, and yet I can't help glancing back toward the forest, toward the safety of the cabin and the fire. Once we step onto that path, there's no turning back until we see what waits at the other end. The mist parts slightly, and I catch a glimpse of something far out on the rocks, a dark archway, half hidden by the sea's retreat. Even from here, I can see faint lines carved into it. Spirals. Hey, you hear that too, don't you? The flute. It's faint, carried on the damp air, but there's no mistaking it. The same low, winding notes from the forest that night, the ones we thought we'd left behind. I turn to you, but we don't say anything. We just look at each other for a moment, the sound curling around us like smoke, impossible to pin down. It doesn't seem to be coming from the trees or the sea. It's everywhere at once, as though the mist itself is playing it. The tide is still pulling back, revealing more of the seabed. The path is wide enough now for us to walk side by side. A slick ribbon of dark stone and sand stretching toward the jagged archway far out on the rocks. The compass in my pocket is warm again, the needle fixed firmly in that direction. I take a breath and step forward. The water is cold around my ankles, but not unpleasant, more like the cool touch of a smooth stone. It slides past, flowing steadily back toward the deep, as though the sea is exhaling. We keep moving. The sound of the bell still lingers in my chest, though it's been silent since I rang it. Every step makes the seabed hum faintly underfoot, like there's something beneath us, not hollow exactly, but alive in some quiet way. The flute plays a little louder. It's not a song I know, but it feels circular. The melody seems to wander away from itself, only to fold back into the same few notes, over and over, like the spirals carved into the stones. I try not to think about the figure's warning, don't turn around, but the thought sits heavy in my mind. My ears strain for sounds behind us, and sure enough, I hear the faint slap of water against something that isn't rock. I focus on the archway ahead. It's taller than I first thought, maybe twice my height, and the stone looks different from the rocks around it, darker, smoother, almost wet, though the tide hasn't touched it yet. The spirals carved into it catch the pale dawn light, making them seem to shift as we approach. The path dips slightly, and for a moment the water is up to our calves. My fingers twitch toward yours, not because I think you'll slip, because I feel the need for that grounding, that reminder we're still here together, walking forward. Then I hear it, the soft splash of a footstep behind us. Not a gull, not the sea. A step. I keep my eyes ahead. My heart has started to match the slow beat of the flute's lowest notes. The air is thicker now, not with mist, but with a kind of pressure, as though the world around us has narrowed to this single strip of stone between shore and archway. The forest is gone from view behind us. Even the beach has faded into the pale blur of morning fog. Ahead, the archway grows clearer. There's no door in it, only an opening, dark and deep. The stone curves at the top into a perfect half circle, and the spirals meet there in a single point, like a keyhole turned on its side. Another splash behind us, closer this time. I can almost feel it, the presence following. Not rushing, not running, but walking at the same slow pace we are. The path rises again, and the water drops back to ankle height. We're close enough now that I can see small shells caught in the grooves of the spirals on the arch, as though the sea itself left offerings there. The flute stops. For a heartbeat, there's nothing, no music, no footsteps, only the hush of the sea. Then, from just behind us, a voice. Almost there. It's soft, warm, familiar, in a way that makes my chest ache. Though I can't place where I've heard it before. I don't turn. We take the last few steps to the archway, and as soon as my foot crosses the threshold, the air changes, warmer, drier, smelling faintly of cedar and something sweet, like honey. The stone beneath my feet is smooth, not slick, and the sound of the sea is suddenly far away, as if we've stepped inside somewhere. But when I glance around, there are no walls, just a vast, dim space that feels both open and enclosed. The horizon hidden behind a pale golden haze. You stand beside me, your breath quick but steady. The archway is still behind us, but the path we walked is gone. Where the sea should be is only that same golden haze, shifting like light through water. In front of us, a narrow bridge of dark stone stretches forward into the haze. No rails, no ropes, just a ribbon of rock vanishing into the distance. From somewhere far ahead, the bell tone sounds again, deeper than before, each note stretching out like it's moving through thick air. I glance at you, and we both know we're going forward. Our steps echo faintly on the stone, though I can't see where the sound is bouncing back from. The golden haze swirls gently, revealing faint shapes in the distance, not land, but something that moves like land, shifting in slow, steady waves. The bridge dips and rises, and with each step, the air grows warmer. I can feel it on my skin, the way you can feel the sun through a window, even when the glass stays cool. Then I see it, a figure standing at the far end of the bridge. Not the hooded one, not the person in blue. This one is dressed in white, their hair dark and loose, moving slightly as though in a wind I can't feel. They don't speak. They only lift a hand and gesture for us to keep coming. bridge ends at a wide platform of the same dark stone, and beyond it, the haze clears just enough to show a shape rising out of the nothing, a tower, spiraled from base to tip like a seashell. Its surface gleams faintly, as though wet, and tiny points of light move slowly along its curves. The figure in white stands at the base of the tower, their eyes fixed on us. When we reach them, they smile not widely, but with a quiet knowing. "You've brought the sound," they say, glancing at the bell-shaped pendant now hanging at my chest. Though I never put one on, I look down, and there it is, small silver, its surface etched with the same spiral as the great bell on the beach. It's warm against my skin, as if it's been there all along. The figure steps aside, motioning toward the tower. "It's yours to carry higher now. But remember, once you climb, you cannot return the same way." I look up at the spiraled tower, its curves vanishing into the golden haze above. Somewhere high inside it, I hear the faint chime of another bell. We step onto the first stair, the stone cool beneath our feet, and from far below, almost lost in the distance, the flute begins again. Hey, careful on the step. It's strange, isn't it? The way the stone feels here, smooth, yes, but almost soft underfoot, as if it's been worn down by countless feet before ours. I can't tell if the air is warmer because we're climbing, or if the tower itself is holding the warmth inside it like a shell holds the tide. The flute is still playing somewhere far below, and the sound curls up through the center of the spiral like smoke in reverse, rising to meet us. The notes keep changing, sometimes bright and quick, sometimes low and drawn out. But there's always that little pattern in them, the one we've heard before, looping around and back to the beginning. Our footsteps echo faintly against the curve of the walls. The stairs cling to the inside edge of the tower, open in the center, so that when I glance down, I can see the spiraling path we've already climbed, shrinking away into the golden haze below. It's quiet otherwise. No wind, no creak of stone, just our steps and the distant music. Every so often, the light shifts. It's not coming from a single source, not from windows or torches, but from the stone itself, a dim, pearly glow that deepens and softens as we climb. It makes it hard to tell if we've been going for minutes or hours. I pause for a moment on a wide step that juts out slightly like a ledge. The view down is dizzying, not because of the height, but because the center of the tower doesn't look empty anymore. The haze below has begun to shape itself into something, coils, maybe, or threads of light, twisting and untwisting in slow motion. I can't quite see where they begin or end. You glance over the edge too, and I can tell you see them. Your eyes catch the faint glimmer. But neither of us says it out loud. We keep climbing. There's a shift in the music again. And this time, I realize it's not only a flute. There's another sound underneath, so faint it's almost not there. A low hum that feels more than it's heard, like the the way you can sense the ocean's pull when you're standing ankle deep in the water. The hum grows stronger as we round the next curve, and the glow of the walls brightens. My hand brushes the stone, and I feel a pulse in it, slow and steady, almost like a heartbeat. Another ledge appears, this one with a small alcove cut into the wall. Inside is a shallow bowl carved from the same stone as the tower, half filled with clear water. It's warm when I touch it, warmer than the air, and ripples gently, though nothing has disturbed it. I lean closer. The ripples aren't random, they move in spirals. You touch the water too, and for a moment the ripples shift to match the pattern of your fingers, then return to their endless turning. There's no inscription, no sign of what it's for, but I can't help feeling it's been waiting for us. We leave it and keep going. The stairs are narrower now, curving tighter around the tower's inside wall. The hum is stronger, and the air feels denser, as if each breath takes a little more effort. Then we come to a door. It's the first one we've seen since entering the tower. A tall, arched panel of dark wood banded with tarnished silver. The spirals are carved into it in a pattern, so intricate it looks alive, shifting slightly in the corner of my eye. I push gently, and the door swings open without a sound. Inside is a small circular chamber, lit only by the same pearly glow from the walls. In the center stands a table of black stone, low enough that we could sit beside it. On the table rests a single object, a box, about the size of a loaf of bread, made of the same smooth, dark material as the tower itself. The lid of the box has no hinges, no clasp, just a shallow indentation in the shape of a spiral. I run my fingers over it, and the air in the room changes, warmer, sharper, like the moment before a storm breaks. The hum stops, the flute stops, and then from somewhere above us, the bell sounds again, just once, deep and resonant, making the stone under our feet tremble. The spiral indentation glows faintly. Without thinking, I press my palm into it. The box opens soundlessly, the lid lifting as if on its own. Inside, resting on a bed of what looks like fine sea salt, is an object I've seen before, not here, but in a dream I'd almost forgotten. It's a small, smooth stone, perfectly round, except for a spiral etched deep into one side. The spiral is filled with a soft golden light, pulsing gently. The moment I pick it up, the hum returns stronger now, resonating up through the stairs, into my hand, into my chest. I feel it in my teeth. The light from the stone spills across the walls, and for the first time, I see faint shapes moving in it, not shadows, but outlines, like the edges of waves just before they break. You step closer, your eyes catching the same light, and I know you feel it too, the pull, the way it seems to want to be carried upward. We leave the chamber. The door closes behind us on its own, the spirals on it fading until they're barely visible. The climb is steeper now, the steps smaller, The hum grows with every turn, and soon I realize it's not just coming from below. It's ahead of us too, as if we're moving toward its source. The haze in the center of the tower has changed again. It's brighter, and I can see more of the coils, not threads this time, but something more solid, twisting slowly upward from the base to the heights above, as though the whole tower is built around it. We reach another ledge, and this one has a window, or something like it. It's a circular opening, but instead of glass, there's only a thin veil of that golden haze. I put my hand to it, and my fingers sink in slightly, like pressing into warm water. For a moment, the haze clears, and I see the ocean below. Only it's not the ocean we crossed. The water is darker, calmer, and the shoreline is lined with tall black stones that stand like silent watchers. The haze closes again before I can see more. We keep going. The hum is so strong now, it's almost a vibration in the air. The flute hasn't returned, but I hear something else, faint, rhythmic, like the slow beat of oars in water. And then we reach the top. The stairs open onto a wide, circular platform, open to the golden haze beyond. In the center stands the source of the hum, a tall pillar of black stone, its surface covered in spirals that shift and change as I watch. The pillar seems to breathe, expanding and contracting slightly, and at its top rests a shallow basin filled with still water. Above the basin hangs another bell, smaller than the one on the beach, but made of the same pale metal, its surface etched with spirals that catch the light. The hum is coming from the water, the ripples moving in perfect patterns, the same as the ones in the bowl we saw below. I step forward, and the stone in my hand pulses once, twice, then grows warm. Without hesitation, I drop it into the basin. The hum stops. The golden haze outside the tower shifts, pulling back like a tide. And for the first time, I see what lies beyond. Not just ocean, but a vast stretch of land, dotted with lights that move like fireflies. Somewhere far below, the flute begins again, and then from the spiral pillar, a voice. Now you can leave. Hey, before we step through, let's just stand here a moment. The golden haze is moving differently now, not drifting the way fog does, but turning in slow spirals, the same pattern we've been seeing since we arrived. It feels alive, though not in a way that's threatening. More like it's waiting for us to make the choice. Behind us, the tower is silent. The hum has completely faded, and even the faint flute below is gone again. It's strange without the sound. The air feels lighter, almost too still. I glance at you, and I can tell you're feeling it too. That pull forward, that soft but insistent tug to see what's on the other side. The doorway is just tall enough for us to pass through without ducking. There's no frame, no threshold, only that warm, spiraling mist. I take a slow breath, and we step forward together. It's warmer inside the haze, and the air has a faint scent. Not the salt and wood smoke of the cabin, not the mineral damp of the tower, but something green and wild, like deep forest after rain. The light here isn't coming from a single source. It's everywhere, soft and even, making shadows seem to dissolve before they can form. Our footsteps sound different now, not the hollow ring of stone, but a muted, almost cushioned tread, like walking on moss. The haze begins to thin, and shapes emerge ahead of us. We're standing at the edge of a wide, grassy plain. The ground is springy underfoot, dotted with low flowers that glow faintly in pale gold and soft blue. The air is cool, but not cold, and there's a breeze carrying the scent of something sweet, almost like honey, though lighter. In the distance, scattered across the plain, I can see those lights we noticed from the top of the tower. Now, up close, I realize they're not stationary. They drift and weave slowly, hovering just above the grass. Somewhere far off, there's the sound of water, a slow, steady rushing, like a river that's been flowing forever. We walk forward, the flowers brushing gently against our legs. Every so often, one of the hovering lights comes close enough for me to see it clearly. Not a flame or a firefly, but a small, perfectly round sphere of light, no bigger than a marble. Inside each sphere is a tiny spiral, turning slowly in the same direction as the mist had. They don't seem afraid of us. One hovers close to your shoulder for a moment before drifting away again. The sky here is strange, not dark, but not bright either, as if it's caught between day and night. The horizon is soft and blurred, melting into the colors above. As we move across the plain, I notice a shape ahead, low and curved, almost blending with the land. It takes a moment to realize it's a building of some sort, half buried in the earth, its surface covered in the same glowing flowers. The closer we get, the more I see how old it is. The stones are weathered smooth, and the doorway is half covered in vines that sway gently, though there's no wind here. I step inside first. The air is cooler, and the space is small, just a single round room with walls of pale stone. In the center is a low table, carved from a single slab. On it rests something unexpected, a lantern made of woven metal strands, its light faint but steady. Inside the lantern is another of those glowing spheres, only larger, its spiral turning slowly. Beside the lantern lies a folded piece of cloth. I pick it up, and as I unfold it, I realize it's not just fabric, it's a map. The map is simple, but strange. No names, no words, just lines and curves marked with spirals. One spiral is larger than the rest, and it's been inked in gold instead of black. When I trace it with my finger, the air in the room changes, not in temperature, but in feeling, as though the space itself is listening. There's a faint sound outside, and when I glance toward the doorway, I see a figure standing just beyond the vines. They're still watching us. I can't tell if they're human. Their shape is familiar, but the way the light catches them makes it hard to see clearly. They don't move, but I can feel their attention, calm and steady, like the gaze of someone who's been waiting a very long time. I hold the map a little tighter, and the golden spiral on it pulses once, sending a ripple through the lantern light. The figure tilts their head slightly, as if they've just heard something far away. Then, without a word, they turn and begin walking across the plain, the flowers glowing brighter in their wake. Hey, it's all right. I know it's a strange thing to turn and find the tower gone, but I promise we're not lost. Not in any way that matters. The plain stretches in every direction now, the grass rippling gently under a breeze we can't quite feel. The flowers glow faintly in soft gold and blue, and somewhere far off, I can still hear the sound of that water, steady, endless, almost like a heartbeat in the distance. The figure is ahead of us, moving with unhurried steps. Their outline shimmers just a little, the way heat does above a road in summer, though the air here is cool. I can't quite see their face. Whenever I focus on it, the light shifts, and it's like looking at a reflection in moving water. We start after them. The ground is springy beneath our boots, and every step releases a faint, fresh scent from the flowers. Every so often, one of the floating spheres of light drifts close, circles us once, and then floats away again, as if curious but shy. We walk in silence for a while. There's no need to rush. The figure ahead never gains much distance, as though they're waiting for us to follow at our own pace. After a time, we crest a low rise, and that's when we see it, a river, wide and glassy, flowing from somewhere far beyond sight. The water glows faintly in the same golden hue as the flowers, and it moves with a slow, graceful current. The figure stops at the edge and turns toward us, though still I can't quite catch their features. They raise one hand, palm upward, and the river's surface responds. A narrow band of water begins to rise, curling and twisting like a ribbon, until it forms a bridge that gleams in the strange twilight. I look at you, and you nod. We step onto the bridge together, and it's not cold or wet underfoot. It feels like walking on smooth, cool stone, though I can see the current flowing just beneath the surface. Halfway across, I glance down into the water. Beneath the golden glow, I see shapes, not fish, not shadows, but what look like fragments of places. A wooden dock, with ropes swaying gently in the tide. A small kitchen, with a kettle steaming quietly on the stove. A stretch of rocky coast lit by a lighthouse beam. They pass beneath us, like memories drifting in the current. When we reach the far side, the figure steps onto the grass and begins moving again. We follow, and soon the ground slopes upward, leading to a hill crowned with something unexpected. A tree. It's the only tree we've seen here, tall and silver-barked. Its branches spread wide. Its leaves are deep green, but each one catches the light as if dusted with frost. At the base of the trunk sits a wooden box. The figure kneels beside it, places one hand on the lid and then gestures for us to come closer. The box isn't locked. I lift the lid slowly, and inside is something that makes my breath catch. It's the same kind of spiral we've been seeing, carved into a flat disc of smooth, pale stone. Only this one is incomplete. The outer rings are perfect, but near the center, the spiral breaks, ending in a clean, sharp line. The figure reaches into the folds of their robe, or cloak, or whatever that soft fabric is, and brings out a second stone disc. This one is the missing center of the spiral, and its golden hue matches exactly the markings on the map we found in the half-buried room. They place it in my hands. The weight is solid, grounding, and the carved lines are warm under my fingertips, as if they've been in the sun. When I bring the two pieces together inside the box, there's a faint click, and the spiral begins to turn. Slowly at first, then with a steady, rhythmic motion. The air around the tree shifts, not in temperature, but in feeling, like when a door opens somewhere unseen. The breeze carries a different scent now, less sweet, and more like the ocean air back at the cabin. The figure stands, takes a slow step back, and inclines their head toward us, a gesture of giving, of passing something along. And then they begin to fade, not vanish in an instant, but dissolve into the same gentle haze that led us here, until only the shape of their hand remains, palm upward as before. And then even that is gone. The spiral in the box keeps turning, and with each rotation, the flowers around the tree glow brighter. That's when I notice it, beyond the hill, just visible through the faint mist. Something is rising into view. It's not another tower. It's the shape of a coastline, familiar, though I can't yet place why. Hey, before we move toward that coastline, let's just stand here under the tree a moment. The silver bark gleams faintly in the strange twilight, and the leaves make a soft, glassy rustle when the breeze moves through them. The box sits open at the roots, the spiral inside turning slowly, its steady motion almost like a breath. You feel it too, don't you? That low hum in the air, not the same as the one from the tower, but softer, more like the vibration you feel when you press your ear to the side of a seashell. The coastline beyond the hill is clearer now, the mist pulling back like a curtain. I can see the line where the glowing grass meets sand, pale and smooth. The ocean here is different from the one outside our cabin, darker, though not stormy, and moving with a calm, deep rhythm. We start down the hill. The flowers give way to patches of soft moss, and soon the ground turns to sand. It's cool beneath our feet, and faint patterns ripple across it, as though wind or tide has touched it. When we reach the water's edge, I realize something. There's no horizon here. The sea fades into the sky in a seamless gradient, like one endless piece of glass. The only movement is the gentle rise and fall of the surface, breathing in time with something unseen. Far to the left, the coastline curves inward, forming a narrow bay. In the the center of that bay is a small island, not far, maybe just a few minutes' walk if the water stayed this calm. From here, I can see what looks like a stone arch rising from its center. A single sphere of light drifts out over the water toward the island, moving with slow certainty, and then hovers near the arch before fading away. I glance at you, and we both know that's where we're going. But there's no boat here, no path, no bridge like the river gave us. Just the calm water lapping gently at our feet. Then, as if in answer to the thought, the spiral in the box at the tree's base gives a faint pulse. A narrow strip of sand appears just beneath the water's surface, stretching toward the island like a submerged walkway. It's only a few inches below the waterline, but it's firm underfoot. The water is clear enough to see small stones beneath, some of them etched with faint spirals of their own. We walk slowly, the water swaying around our ankles. The further we go, the warmer the water feels, carrying that same green, forest-sweet scent we first noticed in the mist. The island rises gently from the sea, its surface covered in the same glowing flowers as the plain. The stone arch is taller up close, wide enough for 3 people to stand beneath. Its surface is carved with spirals of different sizes, some so faint they look worn by centuries of wind and tide. Beneath the arch, the air feels thicker somehow, as if time slows the moment you step into its shadow. At the very center, resting on a pedestal of the same pale stone as the spiral disc, is a glass sphere the size of my palm. Inside it, suspended in clear light, is something small, a folded piece of paper. When I reach for it, the surface of the sphere ripples like water, letting my hand pass through without resistance. The paper is warm in my fingers, and the moment I touch it, the air changes again, a soft rush, like the cabin door opening on a rainy night. I unfold it slowly. It's a letter, written in careful, looping handwriting, and it's addressed to us. Hey, before we turn toward the sound, let's see what this letter says. My hands are a little damp from the walk through the shallows, and the paper feels almost alive, not fragile like old parchment, but soft and pliant, as if it's been waiting a very long time. The handwriting curves like tide marks, each line flowing into the next without sharp edges. I read it slowly, letting the words settle between us. If you are here, you have followed the currents. Not all currents are of the sea. Some move through the quiet between raindrops or the spaces inside a dream. Follow them, and they will carry you where you are needed. There's no name, just a small spiral drawn in the bottom corner, this one open-ended, its last curve not closing in, but pointing outward like a path that hasn't been walked yet. I look at you, ready to speak, but that sound comes again. The waves beyond the sand bridge are moving in slow, deep swells, as though something large and unhurried is passing beneath the surface. Not threatening, but definitely aware of us. We step back from the pedestal and the arch, letting our feet sink into the soft moss. The air is warmer here, the scent of the flowers mixing with the saltwater breeze. Then, from just beyond the shallows, a shape rises. It's not a creature in the way you might expect. No sharp teeth or glaring eyes. Instead, it looks like the upper curve of a massive shell, spiraled just like the carvings we've been finding. Its surface glistens, catching the strange twilight light in shifting colors, gold, blue, and a green so deep it almost feels like looking into a forest. The shell tilts slightly, and I realize it's listening. The waves at its base are slow and even, almost matching the sound of our breathing. I hold up the letter, unsure why, and the spiral on the shell's surface begins to glow faintly. The same open-ended pattern drawn on the paper. Without a sound, the shell begins to sink again, but not before something slips from its edge into the water. A small object, barely larger than a coin, that drifts toward the shore until it rests on the wet sand. I pick it up. It's another disc, but this one is made of translucent glass, the spiral inside it floating like ink suspended in water. When I tilt it, the spiral shifts, never quite settling in the same place twice. The shell is gone now, the sea returning to its calm, endless rhythm. I tuck the disc into my pocket, and we glance back at the arch. The glass sphere on the pedestal is still there, but the paper has vanished, as though it dissolved the moment we finished reading it. The flowers on the island sway gently in a breeze I can't feel. And somewhere far off, not across the water, but behind us, there's a faint sound. It's the creak of wood, like a cabin door opening. Hey, I know what you're thinking. That roof line, it looks familiar. Almost too familiar. The mist is thicker now, curling in slow shapes across the glowing flowers. The creak of wood comes again, followed by the faintest sigh, like air moving through a narrow crack in a door. We walk toward it, our steps muffled by the moss and petals. The roofline shifts in the haze, sometimes closer, sometimes farther, like it's not entirely fixed in place. The dark boards of the walls emerge gradually, edges soft with moisture and age. And then I see it, the chimney. Short, square, made of stacked stone, just like the one above our cabin's fireplace. But the smell here is different, not wood smoke, but the faint tang of salt, mixed with something sweet and herbal. We reach the porch. The boards beneath our feet are smooth, almost polished by weather. The door is closed, but a narrow strip of warm light glows from the seam between the wood and the frame. I glance at you, and we both listen. The rain is still falling somewhere beyond the mist, but here, beneath the porch roof, it's quiet except for the sound of our breathing. I put my hand on the doorknob. It's warm, not from the air, but as if it's been touched recently. When I push the door open, the light spills out around us. Inside, it feels like stepping into a memory. The same low ceiling, the same soft creak of floorboards, the same deep chairs by the fire. fire here burns with a soft blue flame, and the walls are lined not with shelves of books, but with rows of glass jars, each filled with water that glows faintly from within. Some hold single seashells, others small curled leaves, and some nothing but the shifting, luminous water itself. The air is warmer than outside, heavy with the scent of cedar, and something that reminds me of the inside of a seashell. That mineral, ocean-soft smell that lingers in the curve of the spiral. On the table near the fire, there's a map. The paper looks worn, edges frayed, but the ink is fresh, curling lines of coastline, small islands marked with spirals. And at the center, a shape that looks exactly like this island, and written across it in neat, deliberate letters, where the rain begins. Before we can study it further, there's a small sound from deeper in the cabin, not footsteps, but the soft clink of glass. Someone else is here. Hey, don't be startled. The voice isn't hurried, and there's no edge to it, just calm. Like the person speaking already knows we belong here. I glance toward you, and I can see your shoulders loosen slightly, the same way mine do. We're safe here. The figure in the doorway moves into the light. At first, I think they might be older, the kind of older that comes with years of salt air and weathered wood. But then I realize their age is hard to guess at all. Their hair is dark at the roots, touched with silver in the light, and their eyes, I've never seen eyes like that. Not just blue, but layered, like the inside of deep water shifting shades that seem to hold light in them. They're carrying a glass jar in both hands, cradling it the way someone might hold a lantern in the dark. Inside the jar, a single spiral shell floats in luminous water, turning slowly without any visible current. I knew you'd follow the path, they say softly. Most people turn back before the island. Their voice has a timbre that feels familiar, in a way I can't place. Warm, with that same slow cadence you hear from people who have lived their whole lives near the ocean. They set the jar gently on the table beside the map, and the light from within it spills over the paper, making the inked coastline shimmer faintly. I find my voice. You were expecting us. The corners of their mouth lift just slightly. I've been expecting someone. I didn't know it would be two. They look at you then, not in a searching way, but like they're quietly confirming something they already suspected. Outside the cabin, the mist curls against the windows. I realize we can still hear the rain somewhere far beyond, faint and steady, as though it's falling on another roof entirely. You've been carrying the spiral, the person says, glancing toward my pocket. I hadn't even realized my hand had been resting there. Fingers curled lightly around the glass disc the shell in the bay had left for us. I take it out and place it beside the jar. The spiral inside the disc shifts again, slow and deliberate, almost like it's aligning itself with the one in the shell's curve. The person watches this for a long moment, then exhales through their nose, not quite a sigh, more like the sound of recognition. that one hasn't been here for many years, they say, touching the edge of the disc lightly with one finger. It knows when to return. They turn away then, moving to the shelves that line the far wall. The jars there glow in different shades, some green, some gold, some a deep indigo that looks almost black until the light catches it. They take down a small jar and bring it to the table. Inside is nothing but water, but it swirls in slow spirals, as if stirred by an invisible hand. This, they say, is where the rain begins. The phrase echoes in my mind, the same one written across the map. I lean forward, studying the jar. What do you mean? They smile faintly, as though they've been asked that question many times. Rain doesn't start in the clouds, not the kind that matters. This kind starts in the stillest places, a pool deep beneath the earth, or a bay where the tide never fully comes in or goes out. Water remembers, and when it's ready, it rises. It carries with it what it has learned. Their voice is gentle, but there's weight beneath it. Like every word is chosen with care. The fire in the hearth flickers, its blue flame casting soft shadows against the walls. The light makes the spiral shells in the jars seem to shift and turn, though the water inside them is perfectly still. You found the letter, they say after a moment. It's not a question. I nod. It was in the glass sphere under the arch. They glance toward the window, as if picturing the place themselves. That letter was written before I came here. The writer knew the currents. They also knew that someone would follow them eventually. I study their face, trying to gauge how much they know, how much they're willing to tell us now. Do you know who wrote it? For a moment, they don't answer. Then, yes, but it's not my name to give. The rain sound outside shifts slightly, a deeper tone, as though a heavier drop just struck somewhere on the roof. The sound blends with the faint hum in the room, the same hum I've been hearing since we entered the cabin. The person follows my gaze. You hear it. I nod again. That's the current, moving through here, they say. It's the same one that carried you from your cabin to this place. Once you know its sound, you can follow it anywhere. They take the map from the table, fold it carefully, and slide it across to me. Keep this. You'll need it. The paper is softer than it looks, worn at the creases, and it smells faintly of cedar smoke. We sit in silence for a moment. The only sounds the slow pop of the blue flame and the shifting of liquid in the nearest jars. Then they lean back in their chair, eyes still on us. You should know there's another door in this cabin. It doesn't open unless the rain calls it. I glance around the room, but there's no second door in sight. Just the one we entered through, the shelves, the windows looking out onto the mist. They seem to read my thoughts. It's not a door you see, it's one you feel. When the rain changes, you'll know. Their gaze shifts to the fire, and for the first time, their expression softens into something almost wistful. It doesn't happen often, but I think it will tonight. The words settle in my mind, mingling with the memory of the open-ended spiral drawn on the letter. The mist presses briefly against the window panes, almost like a wave against glass, then draws back again. Somewhere deep within the sound of rain, I catch a single note, high and clear, like the ring of glass. The person tilts their head slightly. There it is. They stand, moving toward the far wall. Their fingers trace along the wood, not searching, but following some path they already know by heart. Then, without warning, they stop and rest their hand flat against one section of the paneling. There's a faint vibration beneath the wood, and then, impossibly, it ripples, as though it's made of water instead of solid planks. You'll have to go through together, they say, stepping back. Once you do, you can't return the same way. The rain will have moved on. I meet your eyes, and for a moment, the cabin's warmth wraps around us like a final layer of safety before we cross into whatever, waiting. We step closer. The surface of the wall shimmers softly, the ripple slow and inviting. The air near it smells like fresh rain on warm stone. You'll know what to do when you're there, the person says quietly. Just remember, the current is listening. I take a deep breath, reach out, and let my fingertips touch the surface. It's cool at first, then warms almost instantly, like the water in the tidal pools back home after a day in the sun. The ripple expands outward, and suddenly the room's light is bending. The fire's glow stretching in long, liquid lines. The sound of rain grows louder, wrapping around us from every direction. We take one last step forward, and the cabin, the jars, the person, all dissolve into a wash of blue and silver. The world steadies again beneath our feet. We're standing on smooth stone, polished by countless tides, inside what looks like a vast cavern. Shafts of pale light fall from cracks high above, catching on pools of water that dot the floor. Every pool reflects not the cavern ceiling, but open sky, some blue with drifting clouds, some streaked with sunset, some glittering with stars. The air is warmer here, heavy with the scent of distant rain. And somewhere deep in the cavern, I hear it, that same high, clear note, ringing softly, calling us forward. Hey, there you are. I wasn't sure for a moment if the light would carry you here the same way it carried me. But then you stepped out of the shimmer, and I felt the quiet click of the world putting itself back in order. We're both standing at the edge of that first pool. The surface is glassy now, the ripple fading, but I can still hear the voice, faint, like it's coming from beneath the water, maybe even beneath the stone itself. You've brought the spiral. It's not threatening, not sharp. It's the sort of voice that could be telling you about the weather or offering you tea. But there's a weight to it, the way the words settle in the air, as if they've been waiting a very long time to be spoken again. I glance at you. You're holding the glass disc now. I'm not even sure when you took it from me, but it seems right in your hands. The spiral inside is brighter here, like it recognizes the place. The pools stretch away into the cavern, each one reflecting a different sky. Some are bright morning blue, some hazy with twilight, others glowing silver under a scatter of stars. The sound of water is everywhere, dripping from high stone, running somewhere unseen, the occasional echo of a drop hitting a pool and sending out ripples. I kneel down beside the first pool and look closer. Beneath the reflection of the sky, which looks like no sky above us could, I can see shapes moving. Slow shapes, curves and coils that could be driftwood, or could be something alive. The voice speaks again, a little clearer this time. The current remembers. Show it what you've carried. I glance at you again, and you step forward without hesitation. You hold the glass disc out over the pool. The spiral inside begins to turn, and the water beneath it responds, spiraling in the same direction. The reflection of the sky seems to twist, like clouds moving in fast motion, and then the pool darkens to deep, luminous green. Something rises toward the surface, not all at once, but slowly, like it's savoring the motion. When it breaks through, it's not a creature at all, but a shell, the twin of the one we saw in the jar in the cabin. It floats, spinning gently, and then drifts toward the edge where we're standing. When I reach out to touch it, it's warmer than I expect, smooth, almost like polished stone. The spiral pattern on its surface seems endless, never quite closing, always pulling you inward. The voice is closer now, but still invisible. There are others. You will know them when you see them. Each one belongs to a rain. I look out across the cavern at the countless pools. How many? I ask, but the voice doesn't answer. Instead, the air shifts. The scent of rain grows stronger, carrying with it something briny, like the edge of the sea after a storm. The sound of dripping water becomes softer, replaced by a faint hum, not unlike the one we heard in the cabin, only deeper, steadier. We start walking, moving from one pool to the next. Each one holds a different kind of sky, a different kind of stillness. The second pool we reach is pale with mist. Its reflection is not of sky at all, but of a forest, one that looks impossibly familiar. The same tall, dark trees we can see from our own cabin windows, their branches heavy with rain. When I lean over it, I hear something new. The sound of footsteps on wet leaves. Slow, deliberate, not ours. A flicker of movement crosses the reflected forest. A figure walking away from us, their coat dark and long, their head bent as if reading something in their hands. The image wavers slightly, as though seen through heat. You kneel beside me, and the disc in your hand gives a faint pulse of light. But this time, nothing rises from the pool. The voice doesn't speak. We move on. The third pool is all starlight, bright, cold points scattered across black water. I can't tell if the stars are moving, or if it's just the slow shift of the surface. This one feels different. The moment I get close, I feel it, like the air just above the water is denser, charged. My fingertips tingle even before I reach toward it. When I finally touch the surface, it's not wet, it's cool, like touching smooth stone that's been under shade all day. The stars ripple outward, and in the very center of the pool, a small sphere rises. It's glass, perfectly clear, with something swirling inside too faint to see clearly. I cup my hands around it, and it feels like holding the first moment of rain before it falls, that delicate balance of weight and inevitability. The hum grows louder for a moment, then fades again as I slip the sphere into my pocket. We keep walking. The cavern curves slowly, and sometimes the pools are close together, sometimes far apart with only smooth stone between. The air here never seems to grow stale. It's alive, shifting, carrying scents that change with each step. Rain on pine needles, salt spray, wet earth after summer heat. At the fifth pool, something changes. It's small, this pool, barely larger than a basin, and its reflection is a simple, even blue. But when we lean over it, the surface ripples without us touching it. The ripples take on a pattern, a slow spiral moving outward instead of inward. The voice returns, softer now. Not all spirals draw in, some lead away. Before I can ask what that means, the water in the pool begins to drain, not downward, but sideways, as if being pulled into some unseen channel. The reflection of blue sky twists, stretches, and then is gone entirely, replaced by darkness. And from that darkness, something glimmers, a thread of silver light, winding like a current, moving steadily toward the far end of the cavern. Without speaking, we follow it. The thread leads us to a narrow opening in the stone, just wide enough for the two of us to pass. The hum we've been hearing is stronger here, resonating faintly through our feet. On the other side is another chamber, smaller than the first, lit by a soft glow that seems to come from the stone itself. There's only one pool here, set into the very center. The surface is perfectly still. No reflection, no ripple, just black. The spiral in your disc slows until it's completely still. My heartbeat matches the quiet here, slow, deliberate. Then, without warning, the black surface flares to life, not with light, but with images. Flashes of moments we've seen. The shell in the bay, the jar in the cabin, the letter in the glass sphere. And then, something we haven't seen yet, our own cabin. But the windows are lit, and there's a figure inside, standing where the fire should be, looking toward the door as if they expect someone. The image fades before I can make sense of it. The voice comes one last time, and this time it's behind us. When the rain changes, you'll have to decide which door to open. I turn, but the chamber is empty. Only the hum remains, steady and patient, as if it knows we're not ready for the choice yet, but that the moment is moving toward us all the same. Hey, come closer. I can tell you felt it too, that knocking. It wasn't just a sound. It had weight, didn't it? Like it traveled through more than stone and water. like it traveled through the air between heartbeats. The black pool is still again now, but I can't look away. The surface doesn't reflect us at all, even though the other pools showed skis and forests and stars. This one just swallows light. You'd think that would make it frightening, but somehow it's not. Not here, not with the rain outside and the fire waiting back in the cabin. I kneel by the edge and listen. The cavern is quiet, except for the soft hum in the stone, the steady drip of water far away, and the muted beat of rain filtering down from somewhere above us. There are 3 taps again, slower this time. You move to my side, the spiral disc cradled in your hands. It's still, but warmer now, as if it's been sitting in sunlight. I can feel the faint heat from it, even though I'm not touching it. Without meaning to, I find myself leaning closer to the pool. My breath fogs the air above it. The surface doesn't ripple. It doesn't react at all. But somewhere in the darkness below, I think I see shapes. Just barely. Not outlines, more like differences in shadow. The way you can tell there's movement in the deep ocean, even when you can't quite see what's moving. The voice hasn't returned. It's just us. I look at you and say, I think it's calling to us. And you nod slowly, like you've known it for a while. You kneel too, holding the disc over the surface. For a moment, nothing changes. Then the spiral inside it begins to turn. So faintly, I almost miss it. The blackness of the water softens, becoming more like smoke than shadow. And then there it is. A door. It's not a real door. Not in the sense that we could walk up to it. It's an image inside the pool, floating just below the surface. The frame is weathered wood, gray with age, and there's no wall around it. It just stands there, solitary, with mist curling at its base. A sound comes with it, the faint creak of a hinge moving in slow wind, and the knocking again, but this time sharper. Not impatient, just deliberate. I glance toward the narrow stone opening we came through, half expecting the voice to return. But the chamber is still empty. Only the glow of the stone keeps it from being dark. You lean closer to the image of the door, your reflection mingling with it. And then you say something I don't quite catch, soft, like you're speaking to it instead of to me. The spiral turns faster. The water shivers, and suddenly we're no longer looking down into the pool. We're looking through it. The door isn't an image anymore. It's there, solid, set into a space that smells of wet pine and the faint salt of the ocean. The mist swirls thicker, and I realize I can hear the rain here too, louder, like we're back outside. I step forward without thinking. My hand brushes the edge of the pool, and instead of feeling cool water, I feel wood, the smooth grain of the doorframe. When I look back at you, you're already halfway through. We step out together. The ground beneath us is soft with wet needles. Tall trees loom overhead, their trunks black with rain. The sky is just a pale gray suggestion above the canopy. Somewhere in the distance, thunder murmurs, not the sharp kind, but the rolling kind that moves like a slow wave. The door stands alone behind us, its frame embedded in nothing but air. I turn the handle. It opens easily, showing the black pool and the cavern beyond. When I let it close again, the sound is gentle, like a page being turned. We start walking. The forest here isn't quite the one outside our cabin. The air feels denser, and the light has a strange evenness to it, as if the day never really changes. Every now and then, I catch a glimpse of something moving between the trees, but when I look directly, there's nothing there. The path under our feet curves and narrows, sometimes nearly vanishing, only to reappear ahead. The rain patters steadily, the drops heavy enough to cling to our sleeves, but not enough to soak through. After a while, we come to a clearing. In the center is a stone well, low, circular, with moss covering most of its surface. Water drips from the rim into the darkness inside. I lean over to look, but instead of seeing my reflection, I see waves, ocean waves, as if the well's water is a window to somewhere else entirely. You kneel beside it, holding the disc again. Its spiral is moving faster now, almost matching the rhythm of the waves. The hum from the cavern feels like it's here too, in the stone beneath our knees. A voice rises from the well, not the same one as before. This one is softer, more like a whisper carried by wind. The rain is changing. I ask what that means, but the only answer is a gust of wind that ripples the well's surface, distorting the waves until they vanish, replaced by darkness. And from that darkness, a light, faint gold, swaying gently like a lantern in a storm. It moves closer until I can make out a figure holding it. They're too far down to see clearly, but I can tell they're looking up at us. The whisper comes again. One more door. The light in the well flickers, and the image fades, leaving only our reflections on the dark surface. We keep walking. The path now leads downhill, the trees thinning until we can see a pale shimmer ahead, not sky, but water. The ocean. When we reach it, I realize we're standing on a cliff above the same hidden bay we visited before. The tide is higher now, the water restless with the wind. Down on the rocks, near the waterline, there's something waiting. I can't see it clearly from here, but it glints when the light catches it, like glass or polished stone. We climb down slowly, the air cooler this close to the waves. The rain mixes with the ocean spray, and the smell of salt is stronger. When we reach the rocks, we see it. Another shell, larger than the first and darker, with a spiral so deep it seems to draw your eyes inward. You pick it up carefully, turning it in your hands. It's warm, just like the others, and as you hold it, the rain around us begins to slow. The sea's surface changes, just for a moment, to something impossibly still. And in that stillness, I see the reflection of a window. Our cabin window. There's someone inside again. The same figure we saw in the black pool's image, standing in the firelight. This time, they're holding something small, clear sphere, like the one we found in the starlit pool. The reflection fades with the next gust of wind, and the rain returns. We climb back up the cliff, the shell wrapped safely in a cloth. The path back through the forest feels shorter now, as if the door is nearer. When we reach it, the handle is already turned, the door slightly ajar. I glance at you, and we step through together, back into the cavern. The black pool is waiting. The voice, the original voice, comes again, but closer now, as if standing right beside us. When the rain changes, the last door will open. You will see what has been watching. The knocking starts again. 3 taps. This time, they're answered 3 from the other side. Hey, you're right here beside me. I can feel your sleeve brushing mine. I don't think either of us have moved since the moment that hand appeared beneath the black pool's surface. It's not frightening, not in the way you'd expect. The skin is pale, almost luminous in the soft light from the glowing stone, and the fingers rest against the water's surface like they're pressing on glass. No struggle, no urgency, just presence. The knocking has stopped, replaced by a deep, steady sound. Not a heartbeat, not exactly, but something older, like the slow breathing of the sea itself. You set the dark spiral shell down beside the pool. It hums faintly, as though matching that rhythm. I crouch down, not too close, just enough to see the details of the hand. The nails are short, the palm unlined, ageless. Water beads across the surface, but never drips away. You glance at me, and I nod. Slowly, carefully, you reach out, and your fingertips brush the water above the hand. There's no splash, no cold shock. Instead, the surface feels warmer than the air in the cavern, and it seems to yield just slightly, like the surface of a bubble. The spiral disc in your other hand starts to turn again, slow and deliberate. And with each rotation, the hand beneath the water turns as well, until the palm is facing up. From its center, something rises. It breaks the surface with no ripples at all. A sphere, perfectly clear, the size of a small apple, and glowing faintly from within. The moment it's free of the pool, the hand fades, sinking into darkness. The sphere hovers between us for a breath, then settles gently into your cupped palms. It's warm too, but not in the same way as the shells. This warmth feels alive, almost like the steady pulse of a small bird resting in your hands. As you hold it, the cavern changes. The sound of the rain above grows louder, sharper, until it's all around us. The stone walls fade to mist, and the floor beneath becomes the soft creak of wooden boards. And then we're in the cabin. The fire is burning, casting its golden light on the walls. The scent of cedar and rain fills the air. Outside, thunder murmurs, and the roof hums with the gentle drumming of the storm. It's as if we never left. The door is shut, the blankets folded on the couch, the kettle just beginning to steam on the stove. But we're not alone. By the window, the figure stands. They They turn toward us, and I finally see their face. It's not strange at all, not otherworldly. It's familiar in a way that makes my chest ache, though I can't place where I've seen them before. Their expression is calm, almost serene, with eyes that hold the same depth as the black pool. They speak, and their voice is the one we've been hearing all along, quiet, steady, warm. You've carried the pieces back, your hands tight, slightly around the sphere. The rain has been our clock, they continue. When it changed, the way opened, it was always meant for two. Their gaze moves from you to me, then back again, as if making sure we understand. We don't speak, there's no need. The quiet here is part of the answer. The figure steps forward, and I notice they're holding something in their left hand. The first shell we found, the pale one from the hidden bay. They place it on the small table beside the couch, then nod toward the space beside it. You set down the darker shell. The two spirals face each other, and between them, you place the sphere. The moment it touches the wood, the spirals begin to move, not fast, just in perfect unison, turning toward the sphere. The glow inside the sphere brightens, filling the room with a soft gold that mingles with the firelight. Outside, the rain slows, each drop louder, more distinct. The figure reaches into the pocket of their coat and withdraws something small, a key. It's old iron, with a spiral worked into its bow. They place it gently on the table beside the sphere. This, they say, is for the last door. You will find it when the rain is still. And just like that, they're gone. No vanishing light, no dramatic sound, just absence, as if they stepped into another room we can't see. We stand there for a long time, the fire popping softly, the rain whispering on the roof. The kettle hums, and I move to pour us tea without speaking. The scent of it, chamomile and honey, curls into the air, warm and grounding. When we sit, cups in hand, the table between us seems different now. The two shells, the sphere, the key, they feel like they belong here, not as trophies, but as parts of something that's been waiting. I tell you, I think we'll know when to use the key. You smile slightly, as if you already do. We talk quietly for a while, about nothing urgent. The way the mist must look out over the ocean right now. The smell of pine after rain. The sound of the fire when it burns low. And then, at some point, without planning it, we both fall silent. The rain has nearly stopped. The last few drops fall with long pauses between them, until there's nothing but the soft hiss of the fire and the far-off rush of the ocean. That's when we hear it, a single chime, not from inside the cabin. It comes from outside, deep and clear, like a bell struck in the forest. We rise, moving to the door together. The air outside is cool and damp, rich with the scent of wet earth. Mist curls low to the ground, and the tree stands still. The chime sounds again, closer now. We follow it along the path toward the ocean, our footsteps quiet on the softened earth. The forest feels different without the rain, lighter, open. Every leaf seems to hold a bead of water that catches the pale light of the overcast sky. The chime comes again, leading us to a part of the cliff we've never stood on before. The view here is wide, the sea calm after the storm. Below, the hidden bay is a mirror of pale gray sky, and there, set into the cliff face, half hidden by ivy, is a door. It's small, its wood weathered, and in its center is a keyhole shaped like a spiral. We stand before it, the sea stretching endlessly behind us, the mist wrapping around our ankles. You take the key from your pocket. For a moment, you just hold it, feeling its weight, its history. Then you slide it into the lock. It turns easily, without a sound. The door swings inward, and warm light spills out, golden and soft, carrying with it the scent of cedar and the faint, distant sound of waves against shore. We step through together. The space inside isn't large. It feels almost like another cabin, the one made entirely of polished wood. Shelves line the walls, filled with objects I recognize, and others I don't. Seashells, maps, lanterns, small glass bottles with curls of mist sealed inside. In the center is a low table, and on it, a map of the coastline we know. But there are more markings here, tiny spirals, some inland, some far out to sea. There's no figure waiting for us this time. Just the sense that this place has been expecting us for a very long time. You place the sphere in the center of the map. The spirals on the parchment glow faintly, one after another, like a constellation being revealed. We sit there in the golden light, the ocean's whisper surrounding us, and I realize the mystery isn't over. It's just beginning.